met that day. It was a clear success. I mean, it wasn't as big a success as I'd hoped. Maybe the general strike didn't really work, but it basically was a success. So
no, general strike is a huge concept because unions can't strike anymore. So that was I mean, a general strike of that using technology, that was really significant.
Oh yeah, you thought so?
I think so.
I mean, I love the idea, but I've always loved the general strike. But you know, I like the idea, but I'm not sure the general strike was a success. But I mean, the day was an enormous success. Was it a little too much like a regular leftist demonstration? Possibly. On the other hand, it had to, you know, be something. It has to have, I mean, this is what I read somewhere. It has to work in, it has to have allies, you know, right at this point. So it was well organized. It was very sweet. It was happy. And basically there were no speeches and there were only rappers. That was what I was like. That was my quip about it, my soundbite about it. You know, Paradise is a demonstration with no speakers and only rappers.
Yeah.
So, you know, I thought the music was great. Although I found that, like, Rage Against the Machine guy a little old-fashioned. I'm sick of, like, singer-songwriters. But, you know, but I was walking behind his Guitar Me, which was great. Particularly when they did that Get Up, Stand Up, the Bob Marley song.
Right.
I think we have to draw more on Bob Marley. That's my advice.
You are correct, sir.
Somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob Marley is giving us, you know, messages from the other world, and we have to, like, tune in to what he was trying to tell us.
All right. Yeah. And finally, go ahead. Finally, we're at the question that, which is for this working group and why we're putting together these interviews is, you know, Occupy Wall Street came together. We're going to get rid of the 1%. What they're doing is wrong. And you can go into it in extensive detail about the level of corruption, the level of control, the level of the schemes for the future. But Occupy Wall Street came. We're going to do away with this. That's why we're protesting. So say we do that. No more 1%. 99% of the world's wealth is freed up for the human population to use. Right. They're gone, or they've transformed. Right. However it takes place. Now the world is ours to make as we wish. That's we're trying to capture the different occupiers' visions of this, and just share your vision of what the world can be. Should these crippling chains be let off us?
You know, it's very difficult. I mean, I've been thinking about this because that was the one question I knew about before I was doing this interview. That was what I thought this was about. And basically, we don't know. You know, I mean, I guess I feel a little bit, it's like we were talking before, you and I, before this interview about falling in love. To me, it's like that. You know, it'll be like falling in love. And you don't know, you know, what the future will be. It will be, you will have to open yourself up to love, you know, to the possibility of love. In fact, even if we don't take over the world, you have to open yourself up to the possibility of love. I mean, I think that the most important thing about Occupy and the most important thing about life is there has to be, this is what my guru, Sri Anandamurti, my guru says, you know, there has to be a balance between the inner and the outer. There has to be a balance between yourself and your, like, art, your spiritual development, and the whole society. That, as it is now, that's the biggest problem. That there's a separation between my personal life. I'm going off to Tibet to meditate and work on myself, but who gives a shit, you know, if the war in Afghanistan keeps going on? That's not my problem. You know, we can't really see our individual lives as tied in to the larger world. And I thought that that's what Occupy suggested, and that's what Occupy achieved. For a moment, it became that my individual inside life, the life, my dream life,
Right.
was also the outer life. There was an interpenetration, a conversation between the most personal things inside of me and my aspirations for the world.
That absolutely took place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't personally call Occupy a protest movement, because it was more like I'm thinking of the word in French, a bâtiment, which means a building. You know, it was more like nous avons bâti. It was more like a building process, a process of building something. It was something that was, in a way, it was a symbolic building. We were building a sort of a community, but it didn't really matter. The community was a symbol. It didn't matter what we were building. We could have been building the whole thing out of toothpicks. What mattered was the way that we were able to do it together. You know, the way we felt about each other and the way we felt about everyone. So, I mean, one of my personal aspirations in life is to make my life more and more like dance. You know, more and more related to more and more a type of dance. You know, like we have to walk across this bridge, and by walking across the bridge, we can dance. You know, dancing can be the moving can be a type. Dancing can be a type of movement,
right.
And that's what I think. You know, what I would like to see for the movement is for it to become more like dance.
Oh,
you know, that would be my one of my thousands of aspirations for it. You know,
wow.
And I like, and I always thought the poetry community, which still exists, you know, in the park. I think the artists have been very, very successful as an art movement and as an art installation. You know, because I go to a lot of art galleries. You know, I mean, most people that are involved with contemporary art looked at Zuccotti Park and they said, well, this is obviously an art installation. I mean, even if it's not intentional, plus it actually, in many cases, many of the people were artists or were people hip to ideas about art. So it was, in some sense, a self-conscious art installation. So, you know, I think we should push it more towards art. You know, and also more towards the working class.
Media and media content, it controls, it has more and more control than ever.
Well,
so we do,
no doubt.
That's completely valid. I mean, wow.
Yeah, but I think, you know, I feel like what Occupy sort of taught us is that it's not necessary to be fatalistic and pessimistic. Mm-hmm. That's not useful, and that's not necessary, because people still want to exist in the real world. They want to get together. You know, to me, a lot of it was a sort of a joke on the post-apocalypse. It was like being in a post-apocalyptic movie a little bit.
Right.
It was also a joke on Paleolithic life, like about being sort of a caveman. You know, it was. I mean, I would like to see when we take over the world a lot more experiment with fasting from technology in various ways. You know, like doing things that are slow, thoughtful, repetitive. You know, making clay pots. You know,
yeah, I know. I hope so.
Oh, and the other thing that needs to happen, both for the movement now and for the future, is more connection with the countryside. I feel that very strongly about Occupy. Occupy needs to escape to the woods like Robin Hood.
I hope we can meet at Occupy Farm someday.
Yeah. Or a system, a series of a country and city balance.
That is absolutely necessary for this movement.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And also Marx, you know, in the Communist Manifesto, Marx has like about 2 sentences about the future. One is the cities and the country are going to become more integrated, and the state will wither away.
There we are. Thanks so much, Sparrow.
Oh yeah.